Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome along. Shall we have a little look about how things got started? And then it just kept getting better.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And true to form, he came straight out the traps.
The golden age of America begins right now. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth. Our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied. I was saved by God to make America great again.
Can we just take a moment, please, to compare that optimism, positivity, can-do spirit, glory to what we got over here after our last election?
But I have to be honest with you. Things are worse than we ever imagined. Things will get worse before they get better. I'll have to turn to the country and make big asks of you as well, to accept short-term pain for long-term good, the difficult trade-off for the genuine solution.
Right, let's do one more compare and contrast.
Will drill, baby, drill.
And over here, we've got Ed Miliband doing stuff like this.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Is it any wonder entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires and can-do people are leaving Starmer's Britain and looking towards Trump's America? Oh, and by the way, just look at the face on Kamala Harris and co.
Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Kamala Devi Harris.
You can actually, if you listen closely, hear her teeth gritting there. But anyway, Trump immediately told us what he would do.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders. The Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Wow. He's going to sign executive orders tonight. In fact, I believe he already has, actually. He's already got to work. But perhaps the sweetest thing of all is the traditional left-wing meltdowns.
How did we get here? How did we get here?
So I'm going to whiz ourselves over now to get the thoughts of my wonderful panel this evening. We have got former Labour Minister Bill Rammell, journalist and broadcaster Carol Malone, and the former chairman of the Tory party, Sir Jake Berry. Carol, I'll start with you on this. Look, you know, you compare that kind of rabid optimism of Donald Trump there, talking about how the golden age of America is back, outlining that, you know, there's only going to be two genders. He's saying we're just going to deport illegal migrants. And apparently as well, at the border, by the way, they've already massed the border force up there. It turns out it was actually that easy to stop people coming over. You just have to try. He's doing all of that. And over here, we've got Keir Starmer talking about how rubbish everything is.
You know, I was watching Trump today and I was, I wanted to go to America. I thought, this is what you just said there. I thought, this is how easy it is. You just decide to do it and you go and do it. And I thought he was really good today. I thought he was very calm and very measured. He wasn't triumphalist. He wasn't doing what he normally does. And he looked to me like he changed. And I kept wishing, I thought, I wish we had someone with that kind of courage, that kind of vision, that kind of big idea. Starmer doesn't have an idea in his head. You know, Trump has been preparing this for weeks. And also, you said today he was signing some executive orders. He will have done, by the end of the day, he'll have signed 100 executive orders compared to Biden, who signed 17 on his first day, which was seen to be a lot at the time. He's been getting ready for this for a very long time. And I just think, and, you know, when he was making that speech today, the hall, you know, was on its feet all the time. You know, some of the stuff you just mentioned there that he said he was going to do.
Drill,
you know,
baby, drill.
Drill, baby, drill. You know, and he's already, Trump expressed disgust at the fact Starmer has said, stop drilling in here. But all the stuff, you know, declaring a national emergency at the border, sending troops to stop illegals, going to deport millions and millions of people. There are only 2 genders in America, going to get rid of all the diversity and equality stuff. And I just, and companies are already dropping those schemes already. So I just think, to me, the Americans, even the ones who hated him on the last term, are on him now.
Well, look, just before I go to you, Bill, what you're looking at there, apart from Carol's wonderful face, of course, is the troops there. And Trump is apparently going to be greeting some of the troops in a few moments' time. This is a part of his victory parade, so we're going to be keeping you abreast of all of that. But, Bill, look, hey, come back to that, because, I mean, you know, it's quite damning stuff, isn't it? We've got the leader of the free world there, Donald Trump, riding in on a wave of optimism. Your man in Downing Street says the opposite, and he's miserable.
Well, you know, last week the FTSE 100 went through the roof. The IMF upgraded the UK growth forecast to the highest in Europe. So, you know, let's get things into context. I'm not going to eat my hat. Donald Trump is still someone with significant flaws, and I think he's got a range of policies that will be damaging, most particularly the introduction of tariffs. Nevertheless, he's got a mandate, and we've got to try and work with him. We need to get close to him. We need to prioritise our asks. We need to, you know, get close to some of the billionaires that he listens to, I think more so than his advisors, and we've got to try and influence what he's doing moving forward.
But look at that, you know, Jake, the party atmosphere that we've been seeing all day and covering all day here on GB News. You know, parties in Washington, parties elsewhere. But I'll tell you where there wasn't a party, just before I go to you on this, Jake, because earlier on we came across a clip from San Francisco, OK, which is not exactly Trump heartland. And they decided that they were going to greet his inauguration by going to the top of a hill and letting out a primal scream. So shall we listen to it? Sad, really sad.
Well, it's screaming into the wind, isn't it? And we all know how effective that is. It's probably sounding like quite a windy day. Look, what I loved about today, it was reminiscent of Ronnie Reagan in the 1980s. In fact, the last time, 1985, I believe it was, when they held the swearing-in indoors. It was the optimism. It was the belief in America. It is that can-do attitude that makes America one of the most extraordinary countries in the world. And that, I think, President Trump should be applauded for. Compare that to the UK, as you quite rightly say. Well, first of all, we have a bit of a different style here, don't we? We're not quite as brash, we're not quite as forward. But there is a halfway house, isn't there? I want people to be in power, to be our Prime Minister, who are optimistic and positive about the future of Britain. And we don't get that. What have we got from this government? We've had the lunacy of David Lammy calling President-elect Trump, as he was, now President Trump, as being supported by the Ku Klux Klan. We have Angela Rayner describing him as a buffoon. We have Sir Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, last time he came to London, agreeing for him to be followed round with a humiliating blimp. You know, what is our government doing for Britain? Why are we trying to humiliate the democratically elected president of our greatest ally? This is bad for Britain.
Do you know what?
I just want to come in here. One, to take you on the IMF thing. There's not a single prediction that the IMF has ever made that's real or come true.
So your economic view is better, Carol?
They're absolutely hopeless. They've been trashed, and over the weekend they were trashed in the papers.
You know better.
I didn't say me. I'm talking about the analyst views built in the papers all over the weekend. Who says do not trust the IMF? Not me. Anyway, the other thing is, when you just look at Trump already, he's only been made president today, but in the past week he has changed the world from Kiev to Jerusalem to Ottawa to China. He has helped decisions be made. You know, he's made what he's called Netanyahu, he has signed a deal, a peace deal, the same peace deal that he rejected 8 months ago. He said to Hamas, if you don't release the hostages, all hell will break loose. Guess what's happened? The hostages are being released. So he is making a difference already.
Correct.
Do you know what? I'm prepared to, concede that I think Trump's intervention on Israel and Gaza has been a good one. Biden did a lot of the legwork, but clearly Trump has put pressure on.
He didn't do any of the legwork.
Why aren't Labour on the side of this? Why aren't Labour, who
Why aren't Labour there?
represent our government and represent our country, why aren't they on board with this? It looks like they're on the wrong side of history, Bill.
History. Look, Trump, his policies are going to collide with reality. Let's take migration. Joe Biden returned more migrants, undocumented migrants, every year he was in office than the best year of the previous
And he let more in, exactly.
The best year
He
of the
tried
previous
this
Trump
out,
administration.
he let more
But you know
in.
what, as well?
This is
I want to take...
Come on, you're going to take me on, come on.
No, you made the reference and the comparison with Ronald Reagan, and I was no fan of Ronald Reagan, but he had an optimistic view about uniting the country. Trump, very clearly, is about dividing the country.
He's not. He said today
yes, he is.
he wanted to be a unifier and a peacekeeper.
The golden era for America has started. That is a unifying message. Whatever you say, that is a unifying message.
I'll come back to you, Jay. Sorry, I hope you don't mind. But just to say what we're looking at now is that Trump and Melania, President Trump and First Lady Melania, have arrived to greet the troops there in Washington, D.C. It's a remarkable thing seeing him back in office, isn't it? Back in power there. Look, if Trump decides to make some kind of impromptu speech to the troops there, we will obviously cut away from what we're doing here now and take you to that live. But, Jay, look, a lot of people say, well, the Americans don't do pomp and ceremony as well as we do. I'm looking at this and I've looked at it all today.
What a lovely hat she's wearing. I mean, come on. That is straight out of the royal family's playbook, that hat. Very demure, covering her eyes. The First Lady looks absolutely fantastic. The Americans have done themselves proud today. But actually, when they really did themselves proud is when they came out in numbers decisively. In fact, one of the most decisive American elections we've seen for decades, voted in President Trump and rejected an ultra-woke, bizarre ideology that they never vote for, that was being pushed by Biden and his administration. And you can directly read that over to the UK, where we have a Labour government with a huge majority, but got a very small share of the vote, trying to do exactly the same.
Do you know what? The real contrast today was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris engaging in a respectful democratic transfer. Hold on, Carol. Transference of power. Compare and contrast.
She had a
Hold on,
face
Carol.
like a
You've got to say,
smack
Carol. Compare and contrast 4 years ago with Donald Trump, who didn't accept the result of the election, didn't even turn up to the presidential inauguration, and continued. He actually tried to mount a coup and overturn the election.
She was not the biggest
Compare and
respectful.
contrast.
She was not respectful. She had
And
a face.
and Trump
she
was
had
4 years ago, was he?
She had a face like a smug backside today. She didn't clap for anything apart from at the very end, when everyone else did. Lots of other Democrats.
All I would say, Carol...
But I also want to... Let me just make the point. I think had Trump remained in office, we would have had a very good workable trade deal with the US. We didn't have it because Biden put a stop to it.
Do you know what?
All I can say...
We're never going to get a trade deal because Congress will always vote against it.
Right, OK. All I'd say about Joe Biden's final speech, a la Donald Trump, I have no idea what he was saying when he was mumbling along, but I don't think he did either.
No, but let's just deal with some of the substance of what Trump has said today. He stood up there, the world was watching. The absolute world was watching today, and he's gone, there's only two genders in America. We're taking the Panama Canal back, that's ours. We're going to deport illegal migrants. That's
so what? He's going to invade Panama?
Well, hang on a minute. But we're going to reinstate, low taxes, go for growth, and actually mean it. America is going to go great guns. And Jake, let's deal with the woke thing first. Trump, the leader of the Western world, stood up there and basically said, woke is over. Woke is dead. Meanwhile, here, Keir Starmer really struggled to tell you what a woman is.
They say in America, go woke, go broke. The worm has turned in America. And I'll tell you, Patrick, I think the same thing's coming to the UK. GB News viewers have been ahead of the pack for some years now. I think the same thing's coming to the UK. watch this space.
There's nothing he said today that people here would not endorse.
Absolutely.
Everything he said about wokeism and about diversity and about illegal immigration, people here would have been jumping up and down and showing, because that's what we want here as well.
I'll tell you what his agenda is. It's about tax cuts for the very wealthy and a ballooning deficit.
Well, let's see.
Now, the US can manage a deficit better than any other nation, but it's not limitless. And his policies on tariffs will damage us here, damage us in Europe, and damage the US economy as well. It's crazy economics.
Well, I tell you what,
and
we have damaged.
he's got to be pulled back.
If that is true, why on earth has the UK government gone out of its way before he was elected? The Republicans have accused the Labour Party of electoral interference. Exactly. They went over there on an industrial scale. Over 100 people reported in the press. Reported in the US. Well, let me finish my point. If you are concerned about tariffs, it shows the insanity of the Labour Party and our own government deciding to trash President Trump. OK, one thing before he'd been elected, but after he'd been elected, what on earth are they playing at? Why is our government tackling and attacking our closest ally? It's bad for Britain's security. It's bad for Britain's economy. Don't be surprised that he's not in love with Starmer.
In advance of the election, said far worse things about Trump than any Labour figure has done.
He didn't do it after he won the election, though, did he?
Come back to it, Jake. Let's go to the substance. Are you in favour of tariffs?
I'm not, and that's why I want a government that has a close relationship with the President of the United States, rather than attacking him, campaigning against him, insulting him. We've got a Chancellor of the Exchequer who's prepared to go to China on bended knee to beg to bring back £100 million a year from one of the world's most brutal dictators, who literally keeps Muslims and Uyghurs in concentration camps. And they have the cheek to criticise a democratically elected President of the United States. It's a disgrace.
Ever since the general election, this government has been seeking to build a relationship with an incoming Trump administration. That's why David Lammy and Keir Starmer met him for dinner in September.
David Lammy had to crawl on bended knee.
It's why the diplomatic corps have been building bridges, and why we will have a good relationship.
David Lammy knew he was going to be in government, yet he still called them names, and so did all the rest of them. And that's because they're experienced and because they're stupid, and they don't know how. And if the special relationship is damaged, you've got nobody to blame but your government.
Carol, look at the polling evidence. The vast majority of people in Britain agree with that critique of Trump.
Well, let's see what the polls say next week.
The vast majority of people in Britain don't want Starmer to be Prime Minister, or your lot in.
I take what you're saying, Bill, don't get me wrong, but I fail to believe that any citizen of any country would not appreciate their newly elected leader standing up and shamelessly putting their own citizens first, which is what Trump appears to be doing.